Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, Sophia the Body,
Yeah,
right? That's the
yeah,
right
yeah. That's
body.
the way
Okay,
I'm
good.
pronouncing it
Yeah,
because.
it's a good pronunciation.
Well, this is exciting. We get to talk magic, so I'm always going to be excited to talk about this subject because nobody has any idea what they're doing. Most people are wrong. They don't understand it. And the ones who do understand it are using it maliciously in most cases. So now we get to kind of set the record straight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for the most part, when it comes to magic, I've been very oblivious about how rampant it is in all cultures. And I think there is a veil that is broken when we begin to become aware both of what magic really is, because it's not about having a wand or saying some spells. Like magic could be many different things. The way that it shows up and the way that it surrounds us, it's like we can't really escape magic. It's like
No.
part of the reality that we live in. And it feels like, at least for the faithful, those that follow God, those that unconsciously or consciously have been serving God, a lot of them have been put in this state where they are not aware of magic,
Right.
or they've just kind of been programmed to think that it's not real or that it's bad. And I think, uh, obviously, a lot of that has been on purpose. The system has put this in purpose so that only really the wicked, or the people that are working for it, are the ones that are able to utilize and understand magic in a very intimate way. But now we're seeing a very significant shift in terms of moving from magic was really only restricted for those that were in the know, as well as those that were willing to essentially be wicked, to now being something that everybody's going to become aware of. And because everybody's going to become aware of, it's going to be very obvious to see when someone's doing magic or not. And when they're doing it for good, when they're doing it for bad. And so I think this just adds another layer to the fact that humans are becoming naked. We're not able to hide in the physical anymore like we used to. We're able to feel people's energy. We're able to feel their intentions. We're able to feel what motivates them, what gets them excited. And this whole magic thing, we're going to start to see the people that have been doing really bad magic against others. And it's showing in their reality. It's showing in how they look. It's showing in how they act and how they feel. So I think definitely it's going to be interesting to see how this all develops, and very excited to learn from you in terms of what magic is, and then what are the proper ways of building that foundation to embrace magic in a way that is in alignment, as opposed to trying to superimpose one's will on reality that really in many ways negates God.
Yeah, it's very interesting how all of this stuff is playing out. So, as I mentioned in the last talk, the primary foundation of magic is you are pledging an allegiance or making an oath or making a covenant, if you like Bible terms, with an entity. People who are wise at this time are making these oaths with the creator, the one who created them, very specifically, and not with these other lower level entities, and for sure not with the deceiver. And the only way to ensure that you are actually making an oath with a proper entity is that you actually have to make an oath, write it down, take it very seriously. Now, typically, first of all, I'm not going to make everybody learn this stuff the way that I learned it, because what really happens is magic is very easy, it's very simple. People do it all the time, they take pledges every day. If you said the Pledge of Allegiance one day in your life, you have made a pledge, you have made an oath. They teach us this very, very young. And so there's no reason to pretend like everybody is not doing magic. That's the real, I think it's deceitful of people, especially these, quote unquote elites, is to behave as if they are not doing magic, when the more you look at them, like the more obvious the magic becomes. And so we just have to stop talking about this stuff, or rather, we need to talk about these things in productive ways instead of running and hiding and pretending that this stuff is not going on. It is going on. And although I do not believe it's as um, productive as some of the conspiracy theorists believe, because they believe that every single ritual that these people do is accepted. That's not how it works either. Depending on who you made your vow to, if it wasn't sufficient, your offering will be rejected. Now, not to go into, we're going to take this slow. Now, we're not going to go super fast into this, but also I'm not going to make people suffer learning this kind of stuff, because it's really not complicated. But when you make your vow, there's a way to know whether it was accepted or not. And what you have to do is observe. If you know your chart, if you know your placements, the more you know about yourself, the easier it is to observe if your vow has been accepted. Now, I will use myself as an example. I've been talking about this. We've been doing these calls for a long time. So I've been talking about this since August, at least. That in September, because this is the last day of September, September is the start of the financial year. It's also the start of the liturgical year. So in September, you're supposed to make your vow to the Creator for what you need to fulfill your mission for the upcoming liturgical year, i.e., financial year, because there is no church without money. That's another thing that they like to lie about. And so I had made a video on my channel where I went over my contract. Now, my contract is extremely specific. I'm a very technical person, have Saturn in the first house. And so I do things very, very diligently. So what I do is we do fasting throughout the year. We have well, two 40 plus day fasts at a minimum, and then a 22-day fast that's not really a fast. And now we also added 2 feasts, so we have 2 fasts, 2 feasts, and then the 22-day fast slash feast, depending on where in the cycle it lands. And so I put all that stuff down on my list. I make a list of my non-negotiable benchmarks, the things I need to reset my nervous system. Now, I have a price on resetting my nervous system. I know how much it's going to take. It's $5 million. I have been saying this ever since I was told to put a price on it, because how will I know if I get it if I don't have a price? Like, there's no, not that I can be bought. It's not a price for me, for someone to buy me. It's a price for me to know that I got what I asked for. So a lot of times it really depends on how you think, and if you're in more masculine energy or more feminine energy. And that's something that, we have to discuss at a later time. And we've already discussed it. We're talking about men are from the moon and women are from the sun and all of that. So we've already gone into a great deal of this. This is like the synthesis of all that information. So I also list out um not all of them, but basically all the little fasts I do throughout the year, or holidays I observe, or whatever. And then make videos of my research. I list out all of my video subjects for the whole year. This gives me the capacity to see how much I've done in a year. Meaning, if I'm asking for $5 million, then I do $5 million worth of work. And for me, if you look at my list of videos, I make um probably close, let's see, I think I have 1,300 videos right now. So that's literally like over 300 videos a year. So yeah, I'm pretty sure if somebody was making 300 videos a year with like various levels of content, they'd probably be making about 5 million. That's just me. Anybody else can do their own calculations. I'm just looking at what I see. So I make my contract, I write it very specifically. Now, last year when I did my contract, because the first year, let me see, last year was 2024. So 2023, I did a written contract, but I was missing some principles of contracts in there, and it wasn't really as tight as it was last year. This year's contract is the same as last year's contract because I didn't get what I asked for. However, my contract was accepted. Now, how do I know that? This is how you know if a vow is accepted. So last year, I knew my contract was accepted because one of the things I said was I need a cash infusion. Like, this is what I need in order to move forward. And I indeed received a check. Now, because of the interference, it was the only check I got for the whole year, which was like, no, that's not what I asked for. Like, I asked for all this stuff. You accepted my contract and then you didn't perform on the contract, which again has led me to question who exactly is enforcing these contracts. And I'm still noodling that around because I think I put my finger on the issue there, but that's neither here nor there. So this year, so far, or to the untrained eye, I have not received what I asked for, which was a deposit. But that's not the case. This year, the deposit that I received did not come from or was pledged, right, did not come from an outside source. It came from an inside source. It wasn't out there somewhere. It was inside of my own circle, which is different. So those are the things that you have to look at, like 2 years, two contracts, two acceptances. One was, the flashy acceptance. The other was the quiet, small acceptance. So, which one do I think is going to be more effective? Obviously, the quiet, small one, because the creator is very, I use a word gentle, but that's not the word. It's just, it's very quiet. It's just not flashy. It's very, very like under wraps. And so when you make a vow, if you get a confirmation that's kind of like, oh, that was a weird thing that happened, that was good, that's how you know your contract has been accepted. So again, I don't advise people to engage in any of this stuff until they have their contract, i.e. their covenant, set in stone. So where do you get a template for just a regular covenant? Well, I use the term covenant. That means you can go into the Bible. They make covenants all day and all night. You can take the same exact covenant that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, any of, they all make covenants. You can literally just use your Bible app, search the word covenant. You will find something that will resonate with what you're trying to accomplish. So that's what I suggest. Um, I know that there are certain magicians. Okay, let me go back for a minute though. When we canceled the dumb diverses, we put a kibosh on all magic, because at the time I knew magic and witchcraft was being used against me, and not just me but just all of us. And so we put a kibosh on it, and we said that you could only use folk magic. Now I do believe that that is what's in place. What I'm talking about is folk magic from a folk religion. This is the magic of the people. This is the religion of the people. It's not going to fit into a canonized box. And I have to say that because people don't understand anything about anything. And so a lot of magicians will tell you, open up this grimoire, read this thing, do this circle. That's all institutional magic. We're talking about folk magic here. This is the wisdom of the people and how the people have conducted themselves. And so the reason why that's important to say is that there are no hard and fast rules. Like, you can't do this wrong. Like, that's one of the major things people are always worried about. Like, oh, I'm going to get it wrong. You can't do this wrong. But you can't mess it up because it's folk. Like, it's not institutionalized. I'm not telling you to get some salt, put in a circle, do this stuff. We don't do that kind of magic. That kind of magic is only viable for people who don't understand that you can make a vow just by standing still. And if you read any of the stories of like the saints and the martyrs, particularly Saint Justina, because it was her who converted Saint Cyprian, and Saint Cyprian was a huge magician. He's the one who wrote the exorcism prayers, for some of the exorcism prayers for the Orthodox Church. And so she converted him because he was literally like um he was contracted to do black magic on her so that she would marry this guy. So love magic. And literally she prayed the magic away. Like, she just prayed it away. And he was so flabbergasted that in all his books, he could not get her to disavow Jesus, that he literally converted to Christianity and became a bishop and all this stuff because he was a high level magician, sorcerer, and everybody knew it. It was no one who didn't know it. And so people think that when you come into the church, you leave what you learned on the outside of the church out. And I don't think that's fair. That's a whole nother, set of issues. But you should use every tool in the toolbox when it comes to your life and getting what you need. Now, it doesn't mean, like I said, working with the deceiver and pledging allegiance to him and his legion of nutcases. However, it does mean if how to do a bunch of magic, which means you know how to counter it. Because a lot of people who are in this magical arena, they are new. They've never experienced black magic. They've never had a bunch of weird stuff done to them, so on and so forth. And so people who have experienced this thing on the giving and receiving side, they have a duty to tell people how to protect themselves. So again, once you make your vow, then the next thing you want to do is you want to protect yourself. This could be as simple as incense. Now, again, if you know your astrology and you know where your placements are, if you're more of an earth or water or fire or air, whatever, you can pick a specific element. But if you're just like getting started, I always recommend incense like Palo Santo, or just burning a candle and asking for protection. That's one thing. Two, if you have a body wash that you use, add you some salt in there and just say, I want this body wash to protect me. Now, I sell body wash if that's something that you need, in oils, stuff like that. Just let me know. But you can just use some regular salt. Bless the salt. What I normally use to consecrate. Now we're talking about enchanting, but enchanting and consecration are the same thing. So what I normally use to consecrate my salt is like the 23rd Psalm. I just take my hands, put it over my little jar with my salt in it. I say the 23rd Psalm. I'm Orthodox, so I cross, and that's it. It's been sufficiently taken care of. Like, you don't have to. I know that if you read in books, now I'm not saying don't read books, because books can be very helpful to understand what you're trying to do. But if you read in books, they say you got to do this and you got to do that and all of that. That just is not the case. That is for show. Like, you can do it if you feel so called to, and it depends on how specific of a thing that you're asking for. But we're taking baby steps, so we're not asking for anything specific. We are observing. Now, this is what I did. I spent at least a year and a half observing when I did something, what happened, and documenting and keeping notes of not such good notes now that I'm looking back for them. But anyway, long story short, I did keep notes. So that's what you want to do. You want to try something, you want to take a record of it, see how it played out, and then maybe try something else, see how it played out. So what I started with was the spirit intelligences related to the moon and tying them to the moon. So again, I don't recommend that. It's very complicated, it's too hard, and it takes forever, and you can't have a life. So that's why I'm starting with the days of the week. Everybody knows the days of the week: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You were born on one of these days, okay? You were born on a day that ends in Y, okay? So you can find out by just a simple lookup what day of the week it was when you were born. What you can do with that information is look up the things related to that day. So I have a scale. I'll tweet it out as a picture, and underneath the conversation, or this whatever spaces afterwards, so that you guys can take a look at it. But every day has things affiliated with it. Now I'm almost afraid to do this because mine is so complicated, that it's not like anybody else's. Again, my stuff is folk. Like, I'm not following these institutional people. They work with the deceiver. The deceiver is telling them if they do all this stuff, they will get what they ask for. And they might get it, but it's going to cost them more than what they expect. So we won't do those kind of things. We do things very, very simply here, if at all possible. So the easiest, most simplest thing to do would be to use a crystal. Okay, crystals are very inexpensive. You can get them for $2 or $3. At any local, crystal shop, like look for one in your area, or you can go to Etsy, you can find a crystal, or a metal. So we'll talk about crystals and metals, okay, or stones and metals. So if you were born on, let's use, today is Tuesday, of course. So let's use Tuesday for example. The stone for Tuesday is diamond, and the metal for Tuesday is iron. So you can take a piece of iron, or literally like a weapon, because that's iron, or you can get a diamond. Now you don't have to get one of these Zales diamonds. I mentioned Herkimer diamonds. Herkimer diamonds come from New York State. They're very, very plenteous there. They look exactly like regular diamonds. They have rough ones. They have finely polished ones, and they're like 1/1000th the price of these whatever diamonds they're bringing out of Africa. So when I see diamond, I always think Herkimer diamond. Okay, so if today is your day, you can order you or go get you a Herkimer diamond. I do not recommend using um, clear quartz in place of a diamond, because they don't have the same properties. Clear quartz just clears out the energy in general, whereas a diamond has different properties. So I wouldn't use those. Just because they're both clear doesn't mean they're similar. And that's when it's about the actual mineral composition, which gets into the actual science of this, because there is actual science behind all of this. It's not like, oh, I just don't want to, it's just too complicated. So you can get a diamond, and you can a Herkimer diamond, put in your pocket and just carry it around. And like when you put your hand on it, or you can meditate with it or whatever, you can say, please strengthen my connection to the Tuesday energy. Now, Tuesday is ruled by the planet Mars. It's affiliated with the story of Dali, which is a hunting goddess in the Georgian mythology. The god, or the male counterpart to Dali, is actually Saint George. And the antagonist in the story of Dali and Saint George is the dragon. So you can, kind of get some information about that. And I have all of this for all of that. And because it's the right hand, which is affiliated with Tuesday, and the right hand is your receiving hand. Right hand is receiving. No, your left hand is receiving hand. Your right hand is your giving hand. So the story that I heard was when in the story of Moses, and when he went on the mountain, and they almost destroyed the earth, and then Aaron had to make the sacrifice. What I heard was the magicians, the magicians who were in the crowd stirring up the mixed multitudes that had come out of Egypt with the Israelites, they had gone around and collected all of the gold from everybody in the crowd. And so what I heard, for the understanding that I got from this, was that these magicians handed Aaron this gold in the wrong hand. So instead of handing it to him in his left hand, they handed it to him in his right hand. And because he accepted it with his right hand, it is what set off the whole series of events, which is why Aaron was the only one who could do the sacrifice to prevent the world from being destroyed at that time, because he was the one who accepted the curse with the right hand. So this goes into this whole hand thing. When you see people doing things with certain hands, that's kind of like what that's tied into. Again, not something you have to be worried about in the beginning, because this all gets into very, very complicated details. But you can actually see, like when you shake hands, you normally shake hands with your left hand. So if somebody does something weird and tries to shake hands with the right hand, then you know they're doing some kind of magic. You wouldn't do that by accident, because we're not trained to shake hands with the left hand. We're trained to shake hands with the right hand, even if you're left-handed. So there's a reason for that. Like, everything about our culture is designed to actually protect us, if you know what we're being protected from. But most people don't understand that there's so much magic being done to them that they should just go along and be. The more normal you are, the less likely the magic will work. Is when people are extremely eccentric, like me by nature, that magic works on them, because I'm always doing something that is outside of the norm. And so, because there's not a stream of energy protecting me, because I'm just going with the flow of everyone else, I catch a lot of strays. But that's just the nature of who I am, so it's not a problem. But again, the more normal you behave, the less likely you have any of these problems at all. Like, in my opinion, the worst thing a person can do who is getting involved in magic is to talk about it. Not that you don't want to talk about what you're doing with certain people, but to just randomly put it out there, no. Because what happens is, there's people who are just basically NPCs, and they're waiting to hear an input where you say something, you do something different, you say something different. You want to keep things as close to the vest as possible without, spilling the beans to everybody about everything. I did not do any of this, which is why I'm recommending that you don't do what I do, and don't do what I did, and listen to the words of wisdom that are trying to prevent you from having to go through what I went through, because I don't want people to go through what I went through. But I was out here talking about everything to whoever, asked questions. I was giving all kinds of detailed answers just like this all the time. And so I learned my lesson. I don't do that unless like something really specific comes up, and I always try to tailor it to what the person's frame of reference is. And I don't try to go too far outside of that. I do make my point, and I do make sure that the spark of life that's in that person gets the nourishment of what I'm trying to provide them. But I do it without going too deep into the weeds about how all of this stuff works, because it's very complicated and it can make your head spin, and it just attracts the negative entities that are basically lurking around in you to do something to then attack the person. This is why when a lot of people get started with magic, they get attacked, because they're talking about it, they're saying things, they stop doing their normal behavior, and then as soon as they stop doing their normal behavior, that's when the entities start to pick up and say, hey, this person's doing something different. It's not like the math ain't mathing, which is one of the reasons why I go to church. Because if I get up and go to church every Sunday, these entities that are trying to figure out what I'm doing, all they know is I'm getting up and going to church. And so that's a normal thing for me. And so I'm less likely to have those kind of attacks from those kind of monitoring spirits. Because people think that a monitoring spirit is like sent to you. No, everything has energy, everything has life. And so everything is watching you. It's not, oh, this person, that person, this fly, this whatever. No. Everything is watching you, which is why I always tell people, just do things that make you feel good. Like, don't do things that you know are wrong, because if you do, you're going to have to pay for that one way or another. Like, it doesn't matter if a person, quote unquote, didn't see you. The wood has life, the flowers have life, the pictures have life, the everything has life. There's no thing that doesn't have life. And so it's best to just always do the right thing, and then you don't have to worry about it. The people who do the right, again, you don't even need magic if you just live your life and do the right thing. Like, you just don't need it at all. It's not gonna enhance your life in pretty much any way. But there are seekers who want to know how to do this stuff without getting involved in a lot of trouble. So again, back to the whole Tuesday thing. So you can get a gun or some iron, a piece of iron, get you a Herkimer diamond, carry it around in your right hand, and say, show me the full strength of Tuesday energy. Show me the full strength of St. George. If you want to know the dark side, show me the full strength of the dragon. Like, show me the energy. And then you observe to see how it shows up for you. Everyone is going to be different because all the days have different energy. And I'll go through all the days. But everyone is going to have a different experience, and so you have to see how the energy communicates with you, because just because it communicates with you one way does not communicate with another person the same way. It doesn't work like that, because everybody's birth chart is unique, and so some people have certain things that will connect with them easier based on their birth chart placements. Like, you carry all of this very intricate, detailed information with you everywhere you go, and a lot of people are not even aware of how much information they literally just have within them as it stands, without even getting access to more information about themselves. Most people don't even know this kind of stuff about themselves, without even getting into what your blood type means, what your phenotype means, and aphasia and all this other stuff that goes on. Like, just with your birth chart, in a birth chart there's over like 20,000 placements, potential placements, with the stars and the skies and all this stuff. Like, there's a lot of opportunities to use the information, and it can be information overload. So that's why I have this whole scale thing where I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for someone to know the most amount of information about themselves without being overwhelmed, because there's no real easy way to discuss this whole thing, like, without going too much into detail. So the animal that's affiliated with Tuesday is the wolf. So the wolf is on many of these different scales. And so, but since we're focusing on 7, and if you're on Tuesday, you could get a little miniature wolf, like a carved one or whatever. You could put up a picture of a wolf. You can, listen to wolf sounds or something like that. Like, you could just try to connect with the energy of the wolf. That is an energy that a Tuesday person is naturally connected to. So let me go back to Sunday. Sunday, of course, the planet for Sunday is the sun. The goddess is Sephi, who is actually a um, Nordic goddess who was a Sibyl, basically, or a prophetess. And so she is the god in that story. So Sephi is a female energy. The male energy is Thor, and the antagonist is Jormungandr. The throne angel affiliated with Sunday is Raphael. Actually, it's supposed to be Michael. I don't know. I may switch that. The bird affiliated with Sunday is the swan. The fish is the seal. The animal is the lion. The metal is gold. The stone is called a carbuncle. The body part is the heart. The human hole is what I have on this list. It's the right eye. The habitation infernals is a pit of destruction. Let me talk about this habitations for infernals for a minute. These are 7 gates in the Islamic pantheon that you have to go through to get to the bottom, basically the bottom of hell. And so the way I would use this energy is, if for some reason, like, you start to feel the energy that's associated with your day, like, for example, if you're born on Sunday and you feel like like randomly you say something like, I feel like I'm in the pit of hell, like, okay, that is you're still in your energy, at least, which is good, but you are at the lowest possible level of your energy. So you would need to take an action to bring you out of that energy. What action could that be? You could listen to seal noises. You could get some gold, like in or gold water or micronized gold. You know what I mean? You could listen to some quote unquote heart chakra music. or just something that will make your heart feel lighter, you can look at swans. Like, you can read the story about Sephi and Thor. Like, you can, like, if you're feeling this, like you're at one of these gates, excuse me, you need to take an action to get out of that. There's nothing that anyone can do to bring you out of that particular feeling. And so what you may notice, like when I started looking at this stuff and really paying attention, I started noticing people getting into these various different energies. And so if I'm talking to somebody, um and Sunday is a day I know very well because two of my children's father was born on Sunday, and my son is born on Sunday. And so I know how Sunday people are. They just feel like the world is collapsing around them. Like, you cannot convince them that everything in the world is not being taken from them, even when it's not. You can't convince them of that. And so when they get into that energy, you have to go with the other energy, which is for a Sunday person, like heart. So that would be like my son starts acting crazy, I just give him a hug, like, and remind him, mommy loves you and there's no problem. You can actually start to help people if you, like, when you see them behaving a certain way, and you can pull them out from the despair that they're in, and it doesn't necessarily cost any money. Of course, if you have gold to be passing out or whatever, you could do that too, but you could just suggest something like, oh, let me show you this picture of this swan. It'll be random, but if you're doing magic, you're already pretty random. Anyway, you're engaged in stuff that's just going to look random regardless, okay? So Monday is affiliated with the moon. The goddess is Selena. Yes, Selene. The god affiliated with her is Endymion. That's a um, one of the Greek gods. And the antagonist in the story is Zeus. Now, Zeus is not necessarily an antagonist all the time, but in this particular story of Selene and Endymion, Zeus is the one who basically, if I'm not mistaken, he curses Endymion to die or something like that because he wants to be with Selene, something like that. Like, the story is real weird. The throne angel for sure associated with Monday is Gabriel, or Gabrielle, really, which is one of the forms of Eve. Um, Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I won't get into too much detail. The bird affiliated with Sunday is the owl. I mean, Monday, I'm sorry. With Monday is the owl. The fish is the otter. The animal is a cat. The metal is silver. The stone is crystal, like a crystal. There's actually a stone called crystal. It's the left foot, the left eye, and the habitation for infernals is the depth of the earth. So somebody who is in really negative moon energy is going to feel like they are in, like, the center of the earth. Or it's also like a lot of people who talk about wanting to go to the center of the earth, thinking that there's, like, I don't know what people think is in the center of the earth, but there's lots of things people think is in the center of the earth. That may be somebody who is in the negative version of the Monday or moon energy. So those are things you can look out for. For posterity's sake, we'll talk about Tuesday. Tuesday is related to Mars. The goddess, of course, is Dali. The god or entity, male, masculine entity, is Saint George. The antagonist in the story is the dragon because Saint George slays the dragon. The throne angel is Kamael, which is Adam. Um, the bird is vulture. The fish is pike. The animal is wolf. The metal is iron. The stone is diamond. It's the right hand, the right nostril, and the shadow of death. So the shadow of death is like everywhere you look, you think death is going to catch you. Like, I'm going to die if this happens. Like, people say stuff like that all the time. Like, if that's in their lingo, they may be a Tuesday person. And so you would want to redirect that energy with, a diamond or a wolf, talking about the wolf. They maybe like the dogs that look like wolves, that kind of thing. Dancing with Wolves. I don't know. Like you can use this energy in a variety of different ways. Remember, this is folk magic, so this is not written down in a book. You got to do it this way. Turn right, spin 3 times, get your salt out. No, we're not doing that. Okay. Next Wednesday is related to Mercury. The goddess is Gaia, specifically Harmonia, with Greek god. The god is Cadmus, and the antagonist is Hephaestus. So I think it's really interesting that Zeus, which is related to Sagittarius, and Hephaestus, which is related to Libra, are the two antagonists that are from the Olympic pantheon that are on this 7-day list. And Hephaestus is related to Libra, which is the Wheel of Fortune and the Justice card and the Queen of Swords. Actually, Libra energy, as far as the astral tarography, is all super complicated. But Sagittarius is the devil and also judgment. And so those are the two antagonist energies from the Olympic pantheon in this chart, and it lines up with the actual, like, the way that I reconciled the tarot spiral so that it matched the energy. So that's really that's always really cool to see. I believe the throne angel for Wednesday is probably Raphael and not Michael. I'm not really sure why I have it backwards on my list, but I'm gonna fix it before I send it before I attach it. The animal or the bird is the stork, the fish is a mullet, the animal is an ape, the metal is quicksilver. Um which you can actually buy quicksilver, but it's, you don't want to be touching it. Like, for sure, you don't want to touch that. The stone is the achote. It's the left hand, the mouth, and the habitation for infernals is perdition. And perdition is basically like the in between place, just being stuck. And so I'm a Wednesday person. If you've been listening to these talks for any amount of time, I'm always talking about how I'm stuck. Like, I can't go anywhere, I can't move, I can't get from here to there. I'm always in this, I'm always cycling through this energy. And since I know that's my energy, I just don't pretend like I'm not cycling through it, because a lot of times people will pretend like their energy isn't their energy because they're trying to throw people off. But it's, you can't really throw people off when you apply this in a folk magic way and not a ritual magic, from a ritual magic perspective. So I just, I say this stuff, and I don't put any energy into it. That's how I personally deal with this habitation for infernal that's assigned to me. I just don't put any energy into it. Like, I'm talking energetically about it because that's the way that I communicate, but I'm not like crying at night, like, because I'm still stuck here. I don't actually care. Like, it's just like, okay, well, one day I'm gonna wake up and this is gonna be different. So I could just have to wait. But in the meantime, I'm the type of person, since I'm a Wednesday person, as a communicator, I'm gonna make sure I remind whoever is listening all day, every day, that I'm suffering, because I don't want them to pretend like they didn't hear me when I said I was suffering. That way, whoever gets in trouble really gets in trouble for it. So that's how I handle it. I don't think that's really good for everybody, but that's me. So Wednesday is like the middle of the cycle. And I mentioned this also in our last talk. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday people get along fantastically. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday people get along fantastically. Wednesday people can go either or. And when I say that, I mean, we really don't get along with Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday people, and we really don't get along with Thursday, Friday, or Saturday people, but we can get along with them. There's nothing prohibiting us for them. But 9 times out of 10, if you're a Wednesday person, you pretty much like either stay alone or you literally bounce from one group of weird people to another group of weird people. That's being a Wednesday person. That's what I noticed about myself. All right, Thursday is related to Jupiter. Now we're getting into the Vedic or the Hindu pantheon. The goddess is Kali. The associated god is Shiva. The antagonist is Triparasura. And I can't remember that story right now off the top of my head. The throne angel is Zadkiel, who is also known as Geira in the or Shum in the books of remembrance of the ancient grandmothers and the books of remembrance of Melchizedek. You can hear more about her story. She's assigned to specifically this part here, which goes into my other. I'm not gonna. This already too complicated. The bird affiliated with Thursday is an eagle. The fish is a dolphin. The animal is a heart. The metal is tin. The stone is sapphire. It's the head, the left ear, and the gates of death. So I described this before like this. If you're a Thursday person, you can see the gates of death. So you would a Thursday person will be like, okay, everything is falling apart. Like, but when they identify it, it's true. Like if they're not saying everything's falling apart, then everything is fine. But as soon as a Thursday person starts saying everything is falling apart, you have to take an action. My oldest daughter is a Thursday person. I didn't know none of this stuff, but I knew when she said something was going on that it was real. Like that's not the case with my Friday child. But my Thursday child, yeah, when she says something is happening and it's not good, then it's really true. And being a Wednesday person, I can also walk her back from that. Because Thursday again is like the king of the gods. It's very Zeus like in energy. It's very Kali like in energy. Kali is the type of goddess when everything is cool, she's cool. Time to exact vengeance for something that was done that was wrong. She ain't playing no games either, and neither is Shiva. Like neither one in general. You don't really want to be messing with Thursday people too much. They kind of just sit back and chill. But if they have to take an active action, then you have a problem because Thursday people don't supposed to come off their throne. They're supposed to stay on their throne. And that's a suggestion from people who have had to live with a Thursday person. I really suggest that. Um, when you think of tin, also think of like things that are stored in tin, like tin fish or like tuna or like I don't know, like other like cans of food. Like matter of fact, if you feed a Thursday person, your 90% of your problem with them is gonna go away. So that's from experience as well. So Friday is related to Venus. Venus is Shri, which is Lakshmi. Her counterpart is Vishnu. The antagonist in their story is Raksha. It's Haniel. That's the throne angel. The bird is a dove. The fish is Thymalis. I don't know exactly what that is. The animal is the goat. The metal is copper. The stone is emerald. The body parts are private parts. It's the left nostril and the clay of death. Now, I was trying to figure out what the clay of death is, and that's how I found out that these habitations for the infernals had to deal with um, this Islamic text because it basically says that the clay of death is it's like the sixth level of hell. And so when you get there, the whatever it is that's on your skin, it burns your skin off. And just to make sure it's sexist, that's particularly a level of hell where insubordinate and insolent women go to. So can't leave that out for some reason at all right, so Saturday, this is our last one. It's related to Saturn, obviously, and it's related to Lilith and Adam in his Adam form. The antagonist is Shazam, which we have to have another conversation about. The throne angel is Safkiel. I don't have it spelled right. Safikiel is the way that I pronounce it, and that is actually King Solomon, okay? The bird is a lapwing, the fish is a cuttlefish, the animal is a mole, the metal is lead, so like your bullets. The stone is onyx. It's the right foot, the right ear, and literally the habitation is hell. So when Saturday people are going through it, they are literally in hell. Like they look like it, they sound like it, they act like it. They are literally in hell. If they are not behaving as if they are in hell, they're fine. Just leave them alone. My sister is a Saturday person. I don't really get involved in it. To me, it looks like hell to me, but it's not hell to her. It's fine. I don't have no commentary. Live how you want to live. I don't like suffering at all, because perdition is that in between thing. So I don't like suffering at all. But Saturday people, they can take all the hell you give them, and they're fine with it because it's not hell to them. Fine, but if you're observing a person and they literally look like they've been through hell, they probably are a person who's born on Saturday, and they might need to be brought out of that energy. That's a person. Let's go to the gun range. Um, let's like something with black rocks, like here in Jacksonville we have Black Rock Beach, so you would take them somewhere where they could see some pretty black rocks, or right foot, so foot massages, things like that, like would be helpful to bring that person out of that energy. So what you can do with this information, like I said, you can use it to enchant objects based on the day you were born. And so, how would you enchant an object? You could take, like I said, an example of Tuesday, take you a Herkimer diamond, hold it in your right hand, and just say, show me the energy of Tuesday. And then once you get good at that and you see what that energy does, then you can say, okay, I want to concentrate all my Tuesday energy into this crystal, and I want to give it to someone for X, because you want to use this energy to circulate the energy around. One thing that the ceremonial magicians don't do is they don't circulate energy. They literally harvest energy in, but they never circulate it around. And so you can use this series of various objects. It doesn't have to be the stones, it could be pictures of the birds, it could be posting. Like, you could just make it a thing where, okay, let's say you're born on Thursday. Here's a girl I know, her thing, one of these girls on Twitter, her thing is dolphins. I'll bet anything she's born on Thursday. That's her, like, because they're just Thursday people like dolphins. So you can make it your thing to just post your animal, like, and circulate your animal energy out there so that you are able to say, when I post this picture, I'm posting it in reverence of the animal that's assigned to my energy, and also because I want to circulate this energy out there. And all you have to do is say it. There's no mumbo jumbo. There's no, gotta get this. It's not necessary. Like, again, when you're asking for something very specific, then you do something more specific. But if you're just trying to learn the energy, then you do something basic. So another thing you could do is you could get one of each of these crystals, carry it on the day. So on Sunday, carry gold or get a carbuncle. On Monday, crystal or silver. Like, you can just wear the energy, circulate the energy within yourself for the day, because just because you were born on Tuesday doesn't mean you do not also have access to Sunday energy. You only have access to Sunday energy when you get to Sunday. So you just have to wait for Sunday and you have access to the energy. And even that's not true, because each of the hours, that gets into the whole planetary hours and all that stuff. Again, way too complicated and unnecessary. It's much easier and better to always keep it simple. There's a Sunday every 7 days. So if you miss this Sunday, do it next Sunday. But get affiliated and associated with these various energies. Use like, if you want to do this for a week, decide, okay, every day this week for the next 7 days, I'm going to read the story of X. I'm going to read the story of that person for the day. That's it. You don't have to do a lot. And then you'll start to see how vibrant life is, because these stories are just being played out over and over and over again. This is a cycle of 7 days. It repeats every 7 days. And literally, it repeats every 7 days. Like, every 7 days, this is what's going to happen. This is just the way the universe is set up. It's people think the Matrix is like bad. No, it's like you don't even understand what the Matrix is, and they lied to you and gave you a movie and told you the Matrix was that, and that's not how the Matrix works. It doesn't work like that at all. They just in most cases they just make the stuff up so that you'll be afraid to even try to figure out the Matrix. But there's a Sunday every 7 days. That seemed like the most obvious way to figure out, okay, so what does this Sunday thing even mean? People don't even stop to think, what does Sunday even mean? Like, Why do we go to church on Sunday? Because again, you have people who say go to church on Saturday, go to church on Monday, go to this day, that day. The reason you go on Sunday is because it's the first day of the week. Like it's the very first. It's affiliated with the sun. This most of life, your external life on this planet is ruled by the sun. No sun, no you. And so you are reverencing the sun when you go to church on Sunday, because the church is the house of the Lord, quote unquote, and that is where the focal point of the energy is. So all these people going back to church, they're just going back to the sun. That's what they're doing. They're going into the church building because they're being called into the church building, but it's really them reconnecting with the sun. And if you have eyes to see how this stuff plays out, it's obvious. This is why I make comments and I'm just like, well, that's obvious. And people are like, I didn't even notice that. I'm like, you missed the whole thing. Like, why would Netanyahu come here on our Day of Atonement? Like, why would he come here on Michaelmas? Because he believes he's Michael. He is operating in Michael energy. That's what. So is Michael an angel or a deceiver's angel? I believe Michael is a deceiver's angel. A lot of these throne angels are working for the deceiver. They're double agents. Some of them aren't. I know which ones aren't, because I've worked with them and they have there's anyway, I got stories, but once you work with these entities and you figure out what's going on, then you can tell the stories with more color. And again, like I said, life gets way more exciting when you're looking for these little signs and you start to see them show up.
Awesome. So obviously the topic for today is based on the day. So what you're saying is based on the day that you were born, you have these specific energies and these specific symbols, themes, gods, goddesses that are tied to that day. And in knowing that, you're able to use those things to enchant items, to give them the intention that you're feeling called to give those items, and obviously those items don't have to be the items that you're associated with, just what you're enchanting with. Am I correct? So like if let's say
Getting started, I would try to use the item that's associated with it. Once you have a handle on the energy, then you can be more creative.
okay,
But
so you would gift, if you're starting out, you would gift, if you want to enchant, if you want to enchant an item to protect someone, you would use the item that you're associated with. You would
right.
enchant that
So for
item.
like a right, so for a Tuesday person, maybe you buy a stack of wolf stickers and you're like, put this wolf sticker on your car. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, I just bought a
Okay.
bunch of wolf stickers. I think they're cool. Put one on your car. No one's going to ask any questions about that. Again, you also want to do something that blends in. So if you're not a person who carries around a bunch of crystals, then stick with the birds and the fish and the animals, because most people like one of these three things. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like birds, you like fish. If you don't like fish, you like animals in some way. Like, pick those things that are a little bit easier. If you're a person who is into mythology and stuff like that, pick one of the stories. If you're a person who's into astronomy, pick the planet. The whole idea is, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 14 things on this list. You can find one thing of your 7 things, like of your 14 things that I have listed, that you can identify with. You should be able to. Again, unless you're so disconnected from your own energy that it feels foreign, then you have to keep pushing until you do feel connected. Because there's no, you the only one who can reconnect you. Nobody can come in and reconnect you. You have to do it for yourself.
Yep, for sure. Okay, and then you were saying that, could you go again through the relationships that each day has with each other in terms of like which ones work well together and which ones don't?
Okay, so in the case of the days, it's literally broken half. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday people get along with probably not even having an issue. Like you wouldn't even notice. Like you would just get along. If you're a Sunday person, especially if you're a Sunday person, you're gonna get along really easily with Monday and Tuesday people. If you're a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday person, you probably get along really, really well. Like, because you have a similar kind of energy. And I have a name for it, but I don't have it on here and I don't want to misquote myself because nobody talks about this stuff like this. So, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday people get along well. Wednesday people can either go with the Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday people, they can go with the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday people, or particularly Wednesday people like being by themselves. I prefer to again be by myself if I can, and if I do have to go with people, I can go with either side. I can be the serious, reverent side. I can be the fun, going out party side. I can do both sides. That's a Wednesday person, but I'm
Okay, and
trying.
then so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is more of the serious reverent side.
Yes,
Mm,
I would say
that makes
more
sense.
masculine energy. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday is more masculine energy. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is more feminine energy.
Right.
And Wednesday is like can lean. It depends on the other placements.
Mm, it's like the bridge.
It's the bridge. Yes, there's a bridge in almost all of these. Even when there's like an even number, there's still a bridge. It's very like it'll be very exciting once people start to learn this and we can start to see more of these connections because it's really interesting.
And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday have the ability to clash with Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Just
Yes,
from the because they're kind of like on the polar
exactly,
opposites.
exactly,
Mm,
exactly. Exactly. Like I said, this is what I have in my house. My old man, my son, they're both Sunday people. They clash all the time with my girls because they're Thursday and Friday people. So they're more in feminine energy and the boys are more in masculine energy and they clash. So I observe it and I'm always like the one in the middle, like saying, well, what's the problem? Let's just solve the problem. And one's complaining about the thing and it's like, why don't you just fix it? Like, I just don't understand why you don't just solve the problem. But that's because I'm a bridge. I'm in the middle.
yeah, right, right. And so you said you're gonna post the like
Yeah, I have to
my chart?
screenshot it.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
have to
because
screenshot it.
it's I'll definitely look through it and kind of write deeper notes on it because it is very fascinating how like the bridge for me fascinates me because it's like it just adds a much deeper layer of context in terms of like okay you have the masculine side, you have the feminine side, obviously within those they have obviously their own masculine and feminine energies, but it's like you could see the polars, and then you have Wednesday which is that bridge, Wednesday which is that connection.
Yeah.
And what we're learning to do, and one is becoming aware, as you said, knowing your day, knowing the days of those of the people around you, becoming very familiar with the different symbols, with the different themes that represent each day. And then as we get more familiar, as well as really kind of master just the oh if you're born on a Wednesday, it's like you already basically have a very deep understanding of the person without even really having to know what their birthday is. And then obviously if you know their birthday, you're going to know even deeper. Um,
Exactly.
so with this knowledge in mind, what we're basically moving towards is not only having a very strong mastery over the day that you were born, but also beginning to have a mastery of all of the energies, because the really the whole point of one of the points that we are in this reality is to master all of the energies. And I think
Right.
a big issue as to, especially in the spiritual community, as to why people like don't seem to be elevating or growing is because they're like, I am a Capricorn. And like, it's like they make that their life's work. that they're a
Yeah.
Capricorn, or that they're, a Taurus, and oh well, I'm hard-headed and stubborn because I'm a Taurus, and it's because I'm
Right.
a Taurus, and I'm a Taurus, and I'm a Taurus, and it's like, sure, yes, you were born as a Taurus, but that does not mean that you cannot also embrace Aquarian energy. On top of the fact that obviously, as you know with the charts, like we have all of these different planets somehow influencing us, and eventually, as we do the work, like we're gonna go beyond being just a Taurus or an
Right.
Aquarius or a Gemini, and then I think that's similar when it comes to the days of the week. Is obviously you got to understand yourself first. You got to understand the day that you were born. You got to understand just your energy itself. As you start to fully embrace that, and as you start to fully alchemize the energy that is being absorbed and circulating it, which is really because what you're saying makes a lot of sense in terms of these people that do this magic have to essentially harvest the energy because they're not
Right.
functioning at a high enough level to just absorb the energy. There's no when if you have an open heart, you just effortlessly absorb energy. There's no need to harvest. There's no need to
Right.
create harvest because your soil, your internal soil is so fertile that it's just gonna blossom. It's just gonna grow. So because we have the ability to generate and create and harness and alchemize all this powerful energy through absorbing it, we have to circulate it. Like we don't have the ability to, like, it would be really bad to not circulate it both internally as well as externally. Um,
Exactly.
but in order to properly circulate it, we have to understand ourselves and understand magic in a very deep way. And that has not been a thing that is being provided for because most of magic is, oh, you want to do this, do that, oh, you want to have spells, do this, like, oh, you want to have someone fall in love with you, do this, do that. Like, it's all about what is going to help me, what is going to help me, instead of magic really at its core is having an even deeper understanding of who you are as a human being and in your reality. And so the more
Right.
that we understand ourselves through magic, working with gods, doing all this stuff, all this enchanting, is it really helps us to better circulate that energy.
Right.
That's really what the magic is helping us for, is to circulate the energy, which is interesting because for all these years, I've just been focusing on learning how to manage energy, learning how to absorb it, learning how to alchemize it, learning how to direct it. But it got to a point where I was generating and absorbing and managing so much energy that I was just exhausted. Like it was like a full-time job just managing, circulating all this energy. And what I'm realizing now, especially when it comes to magic, is I was getting overwhelmed and exhausted from circulating all this energy because I didn't know how to properly circulate it and
Right.
circulate it in terms of in my reality. And so now with magic, it's like, oh, you're born on a Monday. So these are ways that you can circulate it when it comes to enchanting things. Oh, you're working with all these different gods, or you're being called to work with these gods. Hey, there's other forms that you can circulate your energy. So what magic really is about is giving you channels connected to the divine that helps you to circulate your energy.
Right.
That really, in many ways, is why magic is being done wrong, because they're trying to harvest a system that is made to spread, to circulate.
It's a prison. It's a prison planet. They literally are harvesting what's designed to be spread. It that turns the planet into a prison.
Yeah, that's a good one. They're harvesting what is meant to be spread. Yeah, and that's why if you see all over, it's like plantations.
Yeah.
It's it's like just where we have the slaves and we don't really need to pay them. We just want to harvest their energy. Like a lot of people just be working these like bullshit jobs because they're just being harvested. And instead, we can be living basically in like the Garden of Eden type situation where everything is spread, like abundance is here. It's not like we're gonna run out of things. It's just because magic has not been provided for those that I believe like have the wisdom or the capabilities to, I mean, really what I see is now that I'm running with magic and running it with it in the intensity that I usually run with my narratives is like it's gonna afford me the ability to manage and absorb even more energy because I'm just out here distributing it in the most aligned ways in terms of how I feel called to. Before, I did not have that. I did not have the ability to uh, be able to circulate the energy in a way where it made sense. So I was absorbing all this energy and I just had to store it because I
Right.
couldn't give it to humans because most of these humans, like, they cannot manage any high amount of vibrational and they can't even manage their own energy. If they can't even manage their own energy, how are they gonna manage my energy? So, obviously, I couldn't store it in humans. I couldn't put it out in reality because the reality was just not set up to manage it. Magic is where the energy flows. Magic is where the energy goes.
And also, if you have a certain set of skills, which is uh anybody can make gain these skills, you would birth something. You would take all of that energy and you would birth something. And so that's not really something that um men like would naturally tap into, but I could say that's what I did. That's what I've done with all the energy that I've just randomly been collecting for the last 3 years is I've started so many things and just started it, set it over there, and I'll get back to it later. Birth another thing, set it over there, and I'll get back to it later.
Mm.
I've done this over and over and over again, but of course, I'm a birthing person of that age, so I know what that process is like. Like getting the thing done and getting it out there, and then basically moving on almost to the next thing while that thing takes its time to develop. Because just because you've birthed something, then you have, or if you know anything about gardening, once you plant something and you pick it, you don't really eat it right away. You, especially like potatoes and stuff, you have to let them cure. Like if you if you plant some marijuana, you don't like smoke it the same day. Like there's another whole set of processes you
Mm.
gotta go through before that thing is smokable. And people who don't know that think, okay, well, we've got through the harvest, we've done this, we've done that, and now it's time to smoke. Hold up. You got about 2 weeks to wait for that thing to dry all the way out. And then even when it dries, you
Yeah,
still have
right.
to
Uh-huh.
cure it with heat. And then before you
Mm.
even smoke it, you have to crumble it. Like there's many steps that goes into this plant getting from wherever it is to you smoking it. Like there's, and most things, most plants are like that. So that's how men can really observe. This is why I think that men are better at growing marijuana, especially because it teaches them the female processes. Like those are
Mm.
the ones that bud are female plants. You know what I mean? So it teaches you the female processes. So if you get good at that, you're good with women. It's guaranteed. Because you can't not, if you know the plants and you know how women are the same way. So
Mm.
that's how men can really, I mean, not just marijuana but any plant, there's any number of plants
Yeah, I
behave in
would
this
say, what
way.
about animals? What about animals? What about working with animals? Because I feel like animals is also learning how to, like, work with the feminine.
But only if it's an animal that you're going to eat, like not a pet. Because a pet,
Mm.
you don't eat your pets. So it has to be an animal that you
They're
take
gonna consume.
through the death process.
Mm,
So
okay.
if it's like, goats or, cows or something like that, yes, but not like a pet. Because really what we do with pets is we treat them like children, the actual children. We don't like treat them like they're not going to go through the death and rebirth cycle. Let's just put it that way. But plants are. They natural, meaning men may need more help observing that cycle. Women know the cycle because we live the cycle. We bleed, so we live it. Men may need more help observing that cycle to see how it really happens. Like knowing when the plant has produced the fruit, all the fruit it's going to produce, watching it as it grows up, watching it as it dies. Like you have to be able to engage in that death process. So you can do it with animals, but not the same way.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. So I think definitely for the next spaces would love to talk about this birthing process and maybe even potentially actually do like death and rebirth. I don't know if maybe we should mix the both, but like what you were talking about, this birthing process is very important because as you said, like we, especially as we continue to do the energetic work, we start to alchemize and refine a lot of energy. That energy has to go somewhere. And as at least I'm kind of becoming aware, is magic is a great place to uh, let that energy circulate, but it's obviously not the only place.
Right.
And as you were saying with the whole birthing process is a lot of people feel bad when they start something and they don't finish it. But I think in many ways it's because they don't have a good understanding of the birthing process. Where there's times where you have to let it go. You have to let it go. And if it takes a few months, a few weeks, even years for that narrative or that thing that you created, that you birthed to come back to you, it's going to come back to you because maybe one is not mature enough or maybe one has not experienced whatever x y and z to be ready for the next phase in the continuation of that birthing process for what is being done. I mean, we're seeing it when it comes to something like with your calendar. How
Right.
many times did you have to do this, do that, not even knowing that all of that was supporting the birthing process of this uh, huge structure that's going to play such an influential role in reality,
Oh,
as well as all this other stuff.
this calendar is tied to what I was saying 18 years ago. Right after my daughter was born, I started working in a group home, and I saw that these kids, these teenagers, they needed business. Like they needed to know how to run a business. This calendar is a product of that work from that time. So really, that's another thing with understanding the cycles, because 18 years is a full nodal cycle. So when we first started observing cycles, the 18-year cycle was the one that was the easiest to observe, because it's obvious what happens when you get into, especially like a nodal return and stuff like that, to bring it into the astrology. But yeah, we can talk about the birthing process and the whole concept of the maiden, the mother, and the crone, because that will help to also explain the birthing process, because each we're all at different stages. And so the maiden is basically like the baby. The mother is like the mother of the baby, but then you have the grandmother who is
Mm,
plays a totally different role than the mother and the baby. And so the grandmother is the one who has the big picture vision of what's going on, while the
right.
mother is caring for the baby. So depending
Mm,
on what the project is, you're in one of those positions in the cycle. And even if you birth the thing, it doesn't mean that you're not necessarily in, you may have birthed it, but you may have birthed yourself. Like there's a lot of like different ways to interpret the stories, because remember, all of this stuff can be found in fairy tales. So if it's something that was told in a fairy tale, it ties into all of these things, because folk magic is fairy tale magic. Like it's literally like that's where the stories come out. And that's how, like, if people are having a hard time like conceptualizing this, listening to those old fairy tales will help you like put this in your mind in a way that you can understand it better than any words that I can tell you, because a lot of this stuff is just encoded into those fairy tales. It also tells you or gives you an idea of how vast your potential for creation is, because the things that they do in fairy tales are things that you literally can do as well, um, from any number of perspectives, if you understand how these things work. And it's like they always used to talk about cartoon logic, but cartoon logic is actually the proper logic to have, not this the logic we have right now is ceremonial logic. You need the logic that's above and beyond that. What's ceremonial, what's polite society. Okay, let's put it that way. This is not polite society when you're out here like and you have a mother goat giving birth in the middle of the night on the coldest snowiest night of the year. Like there is no ceremony to that. It is like, if I don't get this animal out of this other animal, both of these animals are going to die, and my family's not going to have food to eat, because these are our animals that we use to produce blah 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 blah. Like it gets to be really really serious, and that's how we have to like think about these things as we look at them, especially when you are dealing with the different gods and entities. Think about the time period they come from. If you're talking about like the Olympians or whatever, the people at that time lived a very simple life. You're not talking about people who had computers and all of this stuff. It was very, very simple. And so the things that you would do for them was very, very simple. It wasn't a bunch of complicated stuff. They didn't have access to that. Those people, some of them didn't even have like paper, pencils, and stuff to write with. It didn't work like that. It's some periods it did, but just the Olympian period, it didn't. Like they didn't have things to write with. So writing stuff down on they always said to use like the sheepskin to write the stuff down on. That's only because that's what all they had to write on. Like you can use regular paper. Like, you know, it's people don't think about these things. Like they use that stuff because that's all they had. Now that you have something different, you can update it and use something different. You don't have to use what is historically appropriate, because they only used it because that was all they had. Once you move past that whole thought process, you don't have to be so stressed out about all those details. Again, that's where the ceremony comes in. This magic is not a show. This is not for you to put on a show for somebody. This is for you to live a better life, to be happy, to find the magic and the wonderment in each day, not to be some kind of a showboat. Or although some of you all become huge like fantastic magicians, which is fine. Nobody, I don't even care. Like, do what you're gonna do, but like, just like start small and really respect the energy. Like, that's really what's missing. These people doing this magic, they don't really respect the energy, because when the energy reacts differently, they don't change their strategy. So the whole time the calendar is coming about is because the energy is reacting differently. Like the way that, you know, I've talked about this before. The year starts when the sun changes stations. So for years and years, the sun was changing stations on different days. Nobody respected it enough to observe it. So it was like, I'm going to throw your whole calendar off. Like, again, these are all living entities. I'm going to throw your whole calendar off because y'all are not respecting me enough to observe. So now I know when it's supposed to happen. If it happens on a different day than what it's supposed to, I know that the sun is having an issue. And that means I need to focus my year on supporting the sun. Because, like I said, I've been doing the observing the start of the year for 4 years. If for some reason next year when I observe it and it's not like clockwork, oh, there's a problem. We got to drop all our plans for the rest of the year and give the sun some support, because there's an issue and we can't have an issue with the sun in our universe. That's not good. And so since I've been doing that, supporting the solar energy, and that's what I did. I've been doing all things with the sun. I haven't been doing too much with the moon because the sun was so chaotic. It was doing all this stuff. Now it seemed to have calmed down. I can start to work with the lunar energy. But if I notice the solar energy getting out of alignment, I would have to drop everything. And that's because the sun is feminine in nature. It's specifically the women who have to drop everything and really focus on bringing that energy back into alignment. The men can't really do it. And that's a whole nother thing. Like, because the sun is a feminine energy, it's not a masculine energy. The men are not going to be able to send the proper energy to get the job done. They just don't have it because it's not in them. So, that's how all of this stuff just plays out. You want to respect the energies. You want to give them the proper reverence. And it's not, again, worship, but it's like, okay, the sun takes care of every life form in our universe. So we need to respect that sun because that's the only sun we have. We don't have another sun. So we need to respect it. I mean, we used to have another sun, but that's, again, neither here nor there. Like, we have to respect what we do have. We have to show respect to what we do have. And that's, the more you learn about this stuff, it's about observing the energy, seeing how it acts, and then making that energy shine. Just like you would do, again, with a child, or with a baby, or with anybody else. Like, you play up its strong suit. Don't ask energy, like, you don't ask the angels to do things the demons are supposed to be doing. That's why you got to work with both sides. Like, you don't ask the. That's why everything is all messed up now. Too many people were asking the angels to do things that demons are supposed to do, and now they think they're doing good when they're really doing bad. Like, everything is out of alignment because of this type of behavior. People not respecting the natural order, and that's really what we're talking about.
And as you said, there people are not respecting the energy, and that really is why, like, if we were to do a third person point of view, if we were to look at magic as a whole in this reality, it's a symptom of people not respecting the energy. And what does that
Yep.
mean? Well, what it means is they don't respect their energy. They don't respect themselves. They don't love themselves. That's why. Because if one actually loved themselves, if one actually respected themselves, they would enter the spiritual realm with immense gratitude, with immense
Exactly.
reverence, with immense devotion. Because as you said, the sun feeds us. If it's not for the sun, we would not exist. But people going to the sun asking for all different stuff, all different stuff under the moon, instead of going to the sun to thank it, to show honor,
Exactly.
to show gratitude, to show devotion. And this is why the system basically has moved towards this harvesting of the energy instead of the spreading. And it's worked for them in the past. They were able to harvest all this energy, but now it doesn't work anymore because there's been a shift.
Yep.
Because the Gaia and the world as a whole is like, we're done with you humans, and it's a specific group of people that have been disrespecting us and basically misled everybody else to disrespect us. And so
Right.
what's going on now is uh, the reality energetically is looking for the people that respect them. That's
Right.
why the downloads and like the way that I've been connecting with these Olympians have been so intense. I didn't think I was going to be basically getting married to the Olympians this quickly, but it's because they didn't have people. They don't have people that are actually honestly showing them honor and devotion and grace and gratitude. They are dealing and have been dealing with, who knows how long, people that just want to take from them.
Right.
People that just want to take advantage. People that just want to do things that benefit themselves using these gods. That the gods and goddesses are not happy with that. But they've
No.
been waiting for the right humans to come up and show them the honor, because they're not going to, if the humans don't get it done, the gods can't do much about it. They just wait for the humans to sort themselves out, and like we saw with like the Trojan War, they get
Lord.
involved. They get involved, and heavily, but it's the humans that got to be the drivers. If the humans don't
Yeah.
decide to do anything, the gods, they obviously they can manipulate this and that, but it's like, in many ways, at least where we're at currently, it's like we've been on standby. The gods have in many ways just been almost like in purgatory, waiting to be
Right.
freed, waiting to be empowered, like waiting to be unleashed. 'Cause maybe they were also in the plantation, just like humans have been, just they've
That
they've
for
been getting
sure. I mean,
harvested.
as above, so below. So if this has been happening to us, then this has been happening in the upper realms. Like
Mm,
we are a reflection. This is mirror world. So we're only reflecting back what's going on. Again, the war in heaven never ended. Like we still haven't ended the war in heaven. Like it's not over. I mean, it's over now, but it's what I mean it's not over is it's still the last throes of the battle are still. Again, we had a Trojan horse. We sent in a Trojan horse. They anyway, that's probably a whole nother hour I'm about to start talking. But the the problem is, these people, they believe that they can reflect back something that's not real because they've been doing it so long. But since so many people have taken back their energy, recalled their energy to themselves, this scam stuff that they've been doing, cloaking in people's energy, is just
mm.
not working for them anymore because they've been doing all kinds of stuff to hide in other people's energy. And so when if you just come and look by, you're like, oh, okay, they look great because it's an energetic check. But then when you do like a deep exam, it's like, wait a minute, that's supposed to be a woman, but that's clearly a man. What's going on here? Like there's been a mix up because why is this woman really a man? Like, you know what I mean? Like literally, like this is what's been happening. They have literally just been cloaking themselves in energy that did not belong to them. And so somebody came and did a check and was like, nah, this is not, they're lying. Again, this is why I'm always very vocal about the quote unquote gates of hell before me, because I don't want anybody to pretend like they didn't know. Because someone is going to have to pay the cost for this. You don't get to engage in this much evil for this long without somebody paying for it. And I want to make sure whoever is the one that's been doing this is the one who pays the cost, not an innocent person, because it was on me to speak up for myself and I didn't.
Yeah, just I think today actually, there's a woman that got thrown in jail for fraud, for defrauding, Goldman Sachs. I think it was Goldman
Lord.
Sachs, no, it might have been JP Morgan. I think it was JP Morgan actually, but defrauding, I think, JP Morgan, because what she did was she sold her company, and she had like 20 million users, and only like 100,000 or 200,000 of them were real.
Oh my
All of the
gosh.
others were fake. So, imagine this investment banking firm, all this legitimacy, they get the contact list, they get the database, and then end up realizing, holy shit, it's like all of it is wrong. So all
Wow.
the value is not there. And I think that's very similar to what has taken place in this reality, where on the surface is like, wow, you have all, it's like number wise, wow, everything's going great. But then you look at the numbers and you're like, wait, there's nothing here. There's
Right.
literally like, this is actually just a complete mirage. So the managers in the spiritual realm, like the really the ones that are falling for the prey, falling for the trap, are looking at the numbers and saying, hey, everything is great. And God's like, okay, oh, everything is great, okay, then let's let it continue. Because
Right.
obviously, you guys are not doing your work if you think that, like, this is really all right.
Right,
So
exactly.
so it's like,
Somebody's lying.
as Henry Kissinger says, like, the only way to fix a problem is to make it worse. And that's, I think, what's going on in this reality is like, you gotta basically, the whole slate gotta be clean. And if
Right.
the slate is not being cleaned, like, it's not the issue at hand is not going to be sorted out. So, like, humanity had to go through all of this for who knows how long to get to this point where now it's become very clear that the slate is being cleaned.
Right. It
Raymond?
has to.
Hey, I'm just going to troll a little while. I don't understand anything Sophia says. But I'm listening to you, Emperor.
Yeah, well, look, as you keep, definitely keep listening to, we do these every Tuesday and Friday. It's gonna begin to make sense. It is a lot, but it's just the more you immerse yourself in this space, the more you're going to begin to understand, because it is a lot. There's a lot to digest, but the fact that you are listening, the fact that you're getting involved, like the fact that you're open to it is very important. That's what matters.
And one thing I heard an anthroposophist say one time is that he had gone to some lectures by another anthroposophist, but every time he went, he would fall asleep. And he brought that up to his mentor, and he said, "I love these things, but every time I come, I fall asleep." And his mentor told him, "Good. That means that your internal world is getting all the knowledge, and it's bypassing your brain, which would try to intellectualize it and really going straight to your heart." So you don't have to understand it, you just have to observe, because that's the main thing. Just observe the world around you and start to see the connections. You should see synchronicities and other things just show up, and as you seek, you will find. It's guaranteed. If you knock, the door will be open. It doesn't say maybe it'll be open, it says it will be open. So the more you seek, the more you will find. And the more you ask questions, the more you'll get answers.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Raymond, for coming up, and thank you for listening, because it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, we I'm pretty out there and you're pretty out there. So obviously when we come together, we're like really out there.
Right. Yes.
Which
Yes.
is great for us, but because, we're pretty nuts. We're pretty insane in terms of what we're doing individually. Um, but what's beautiful about all of this is that, like, in us getting it, we're able to then start to digest it even deeper, to provide it in more bite-sized ways. So something like what we've done with something like with the Olympians, like I'm beginning to slowly start to push out basically the propaganda to support the Olympians. So it's like, as we're like, we have these very high level conversations that spark all this inspiration within us, whether we're the ones talking, whether we're the ones listening, and then it starts to uh, it starts to go lower and lower and lower, like down our being, to the
Right.
point where basically it's almost like the root chakra. We're going from the crown to the root chakra, where now it's grounded, and then because it's grounded, it's at the root, then we're able to provide it to everybody else. Because obviously, if we were to, just keep talking like this and not like digest the energy even deeper, it's going to be difficult for people to get it. It's going to be difficult
Right.
for this type of information. Something like the calendar is going to be difficult to be embraced. Um,
Right.
and I think this is part of that birthing process. I mean, I think what
Yeah.
we're doing together in these spaces is the birthing process.
Right.
So in birthing process, like, I think, what is it, 9 months that a woman is
Yeah,
pregnant?
it's again, it's just like the nodal cycle. Like from the time that your the nodal cycle starts to age 9, that's when you have a midpoint of your nodal cycle, and then you have 9 more years and you have a nodal return. So this whole 9, 18, cycle is really, really important. 9, 18, 27, 36. This whole cycle is really, really important, because it shows up everywhere. And once you have a good understanding of it, you're able to actually see it in a lot of things. It's not just like out there somewhere, because the birthing process is very personal. And
Mm,
that's, again, ceremonial magic is impersonal in nature. I mean, it's called a ceremony. You don't have there's no birthing Listen, I've given birth 3 times. There's no ceremony. You don't want anybody in that room that doesn't need to be there, because 9 times out of 10 it's extremely unpleasant for everyone involved. even if you get a scheduled C-section, it's not pleasant. So yeah, you want to you keep the ceremony out of it, and you just do the dirty work to get it done.
Yes, awesome. Love it. Yeah, do you have any final closing thoughts?
Oh, right. This is what I was going to say too. Most of the time, I have to work extremely hard to stay in my body. I'm channeling, so the when you get into channeling, in general, the better the input you have, meaning the more research and knowledge that you have, the better the output. And so because I do so much, I immerse myself in this knowledge. I'm not just like observing it like a ceremony. I'm really like using it. When I talk, it comes out naturally because it's already, again, it's not on me, it's in me. And so even when you don't understand what's going on, the more that you just participate in it, it's going to be in you, and you will start to just channel it out, because all channeling in all channeling is bringing that information from your higher self down and through your root chakra, and then if you use your voice, out through your voice, or whatever, you bring it out through another cavity. And so I just want to throw that in there. Like, you don't have to understand everything, but as long as you ask questions, and you just put in good knowledge. Again, garbage in, garbage out. Put in good knowledge, you'll get good things out. And so that's what I hope that we're doing here, is giving some good information for people to digest and put out.
Beautiful. Yeah, definitely. I think we should do a spaces in the future on channeling as well.
Lord have mercy. You trying to pull all the information. Oh
Well,
goodness.
I'm just trying to throw things out there just to like let them birth when they're supposed to birth.
Yeah.
Because like
Oh, that's coming.
there's a
I know
lot,
it.
I mean, now that we're getting really deep into, I mean, not deep, but I mean, yeah, I guess we're getting deeper into the
This is
magic.
deep.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is
it is
pretty
deep,
deep
right?
into the magic. Like, this
Yeah.
is not, I did not give people this stuff. Is very, it works. One thing I can say, it works. It's the problem is not that it doesn't work. It works. It just sometimes it works too well. And people stop because they're like, "Oh, I got this one thing that works. I'm just going to stop." You have to commit to following the creator wherever he leads you. So
Right.
as soon as you master one thing, you have to move on to the next wheel. Like, it's wheels inside of
Yeah, yeah,
wheels.
exactly.
And I'm
You can't build your plantation to harvest.
no,
That's
no,
what these people are doing,
mm-mm.
is as
Yeah,
exactly what you said, is they reach their peak in whatever they were called to do, and then they're like, okay, I'm gonna set up my toll booth, I'm gonna set up my whole harvesting operation, and I'm just gonna be known as this person.
exactly.
Meanwhile, God is saying like, yo, I'm ready to send you to the next thing, and people are like, no, nope, I'm gonna be this, because that requires a death and a rebirth. And people don't want to
Yep.
die. They don't want to die.
Nope. And it was even me, because my friend earlier, she's like, "Hey, we need to look into this." And I'm like, "Do we have to? Is that like a must that I must look into this?" Because I know what that's going to mean. That means, yeah, you about to have me down another 12-month rabbit hole trying to answer this question that you asked, because she's a manifester and I'm a generator. So the manifester asks the question and then they walk away. They ain't worried about how the answer comes about. The answer just has to be birthed. And so this is my life. Like, at some point you would think, okay, like maybe we could just like stop, but you can't. Like, you just keep asking questions. Like, even so I have to tell her, I'm like, can you not ask that question? Like, I know you're about to say it, but can you not say it? Or can you wait like a week? Let me finish this thing that I'm working on before you ask that question. And she's like, no, well, what about this? Like, oh my goodness, now I've got to put this down and start looking into this question that you asked, because obviously there's an answer that needs to be had. So this is where all of these different modalities about yourself like really, really start to fluctuate, because if you are a person who is a manifester, you don't have a motor, so you have to literally put it out there so that someone with a motor can pick it up. And so congregating in group, this is why you want to like observe the energy so you can know. Anyway, it's a whole nother theory I have, but I think most of the people who are manifestors or manifesting generators are on the masculine side, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And most of the generators and reflectors are on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday side. And I'm pretty certain that's how it works, like just observing the different people around me. But by observing these smaller things, then you can figure out the larger things. And I mean, I know there's smaller like an even smaller cycle, but it feels like this is the least complicated because it's the easiest thing to figure out about somebody. Like it's literally the easiest thing to figure out. And you go into the other stuff before you have this energy mastered, you would just get confused. And don't forget, there's a deceiver looking out there specifically trying to deceive you from getting this very simple information. Because if you don't get this very simple information, just like the days of the week, literally you cannot you are going to be deceived on larger things. If it's like they have a saying where they say if you can be given a little, you can be given a lot. Well, if you can be deceived a little, you can be deceived a lot. So you have to really like hone in on this is why the channeling and all this stuff comes in. Like you really have to hone it because then you got to know where you're channeling from. Is it from a more evolved version of yourself? Is it from one of these archangels or angels? Is it from one of these deceivers? Like you have to be really comfortable in your own energy in order to make sure that you're not channeling in some energy that doesn't belong to you, you didn't ask for, and also you don't want to have anything to do with you. So all of these, there's so many different factors. I really appreciate getting the opportunity to lay the foundation for people, like I said, in a way where you're not going to get hurt, you're not going to cause any harm to yourself, you're not going to have any of these weird issues that all these other people have when they do stuff like this. And really the foundational things of being able to protect yourself, knowing who you're working with, and also just having a pure heart. A pure heart will get you out of more than anything else. Like you, if you're just literally just trying to figure out the answer to a question, you're not going to be punished for asking a question. Generally that's a good rule for kids anyway. You don't punish the kids for asking the question. You punish the kids for lying or for other, other kind of responses, but never just asking the question. And that's how the creator is with us. He doesn't punish us for asking questions, but at some point you do have to move on to the next level. And there's always this energy that wants to keep you bound to a lower level, because if you evolve, that means whoever is above you on the upper realm is also going to evolve. And again, I think that's why we all have this planet has advanced so much, because there's so many people evolving that they can no longer control, not us down here on the physical world, but them up there on the external world. They can't control them. They're uncontrollable. And it's just trickling down into this realm.
So you said so who's not controllable? Like the spirits that
The
they were.
like our higher version of ourselves, like we're evolving. So there, if we're evolving down here in the physical realm, that means a version of us is evolving in the spirit realm. And so the spirit
Mm,
realm version of us is like when you go to sleep, you jump into the version of yourself in the spirit realm. That's a whole another talk for another day in general, but that's what happens. You're jumping into another version, your version of yourself that is outside of yourself, which is
mm,
why when you ask before you go to sleep, like, take me to this person, take me to that person, help me solve this problem, help me solve that problem, you go into the spirit realm and you get the work done. And then when you wake up in the morning, I mean, this all goes into human design too, but when you wake up in the morning, you should have an answer. And when you don't have an answer, that's basically when you know someone's been interfering with you. That's a whole, we have to talk about dream interpretation too at some point, because all of this ties into that. Like, that's, if you ask a question of, like, of yourself, like, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this before you go to sleep? And you wake up and you don't have an answer, and instead you have something that is like the total opposite of what you asked for, you probably need some more protection and we need to talk. But yeah, that's a whole nother, there's a whole nother part of it. Like, I'm trying not to scare people, because these people have been doing some really horrific things. We have caught them red-handed in some things that if the normies knew about it, they wouldn't want to touch this stuff with a 10-foot pole, which is why a lot of people don't want to touch this stuff with a 10-foot pole. But we, as the early adopters to this whole philosophy, we have to, like, we have to make this space as inclusive as possible, without excluding people because of their very rational fears. Like, it's extremely rational to be afraid of someone who does tarot cards. Extremely rational, because a lot of people have used the tarot cards to inflict great harm on people, find out personal secrets about them,
Mm-hmm.
do all kinds of stuff they're not supposed to be doing. So it's very rational to be afraid of someone like that. But so we have to take the emotion out of it, which is what I do with my tarot spiral. There's no emotion in that. I don't even have to pick up a deck of cards. Somebody tells me I was born on this day, I can look it up. I find all the cards that's associated with them. I never picked up a card. All I did was use the information. It takes the emotion out of it, because when you put the emotion into it, then you get into the whole casting of spells potentially. If you don't, again, if people are very loose with their energy, so that's, again, more, oh my gosh, look at all these topics I just, like, rambled off in the last 10 minutes. Oh my, why? This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I just rambled off like 10 more, like, crazy things I hadn't even thought about. This is just nuts. I'm sorry.
No, this is great. This is ideas for future spaces for sure. I
Oh
mean, there's
man.
clearly, I mean, again, the thing that the reason why this is happening is because it's not out there.
Right.
It's not, at
Right.
least, I mean, obviously, yes, sure. It's not like we're, for a lot of these stuff, it's not like it's being discovered for the first time. Sure, it's out there. There's books, there's information about it, but to synthesize it, to put it together, to put it in a
Right.
way that's easily digestible and understood for a wider audience, it's not out there. I mean,
No.
it's like, I'm just getting into magic, at least consciously. And sure, yeah, am I in my own bubble on Twitter? For sure. But I don't like, no one's talking about the Olympians. No one's talking about how to
Nope.
provide any type of deity with an offering. It's like the magic talk is either like just people are just like low key talking about it, or it's just not talked about at all. That's really, actually, for me, I it's like hard, it's like when I began to drink raw milk, and I literally would search on Twitter raw milk and no tweets about it.
Right.
Literally 0 tweets. I could not, but I was like, how is one of the biggest social networking platforms in the world, and nobody's talking about raw milk? Are you telling me that out of all the billions of people, nobody has thought about, hey, like, let me promote raw milk on Twitter? It's the same thing with magic. It's like,
Right.
yes, are people talking about magic? Sure, but it's very normie like. It's very
Yep.
just like retarded in many ways, and
Yep.
they're not really actually talking about magic. And a great example for that is, again, the Olympians. How are the Olympians not the most exciting brand out right now?
I
They're,
have no
they're you know,
idea.
like, they're so cool. They're
Yeah.
so awesome, and yet people do, like, they're around. The gods are around in terms of in Hollywood and mass media, but it's like people have a veil. And so what we're doing is we are providing in a digestible format the ability for people to be like, "Oh shit, I love Aphrodite. Oh wow, I love Apollo. Oh wow, I love Zeus. Oh wow, I love this. Oh, I love that. Oh, I love, the like start to help them down the path that they felt made sense, but they just didn't know what it was. And same
Right,
with, as you were saying, with the calendar, with the days, with the dreams, like all this stuff, as you're like spitting it out, is telling us like this has to be set up. This has to
right,
be understood and discussed and put in a way where, like that chart that you posted, like, that's a great start. That's a great start. Are the masses going to embrace that type of chart initially? No, of course not. So then,
no,
obviously we gotta mush it down even more, and this is part of the birthing process. Just
right.
because we're talking about it now does not mean everyone's gonna embrace it immediately. Obviously, we still have to build out the infrastructure. We still have to have, the blood vessels built out, just like a baby. A baby, starts as
Well,
like
even once the
a
baby
cell.
is born, like I mean, the once you speak something, it's basically like created. It's like, but even once the baby is born, that's not how it works. Like people don't just
Yeah, you
like
don't just send them
accept
out
the
to
baby.
college.
Exactly. No. First of all, you if you're breastfeeding and you're breastfeeding, and if you're fighting over diapers, and then you're trying to get the baby to sleep like on a normal
Uh-huh.
schedule and not be all over the place and all wild, and then you're trying to figure out like when you're gonna sleep as the mom, or when you're
Right.
gonna take a shot. Like it's a lot of different things that have to be like strategize, and it's on the job. Like
Mhm.
you don't get a practice run of having a baby. Like once you have the baby, it's like, hey, it's time to get to work. No more of this like whatever you thought you were going to do, and you have to be able to maintain who you are as a person during this whole process. So this whole thing is just it's a learning experience, but it's an on the job learning experience. And a lot of people don't like that either, because basically it is a death and rebirth. You're learning while you're like raising the child. Like there's no like practice for that. The only one who knows how this thing is going to turn out basically is the grandmother energy, which is why we always have to be bringing in
Mm.
that quote unquote great mother or the grandmother energy in, because she is going to make it just that much easier. Because if you have a grandma around, and it's taken from me, had my grandmother and my mother both helped me with my kids, and there's nothing like one of them saying, oh well, my grandmother would make like a bunch of eggs, like because my oldest daughter, she would eat like a bunch of eggs, and so we would be walking around like with all of these eggs. I'm like, Grandma, why'd you make her so many eggs, like boiled eggs? And she's like 5 or 6, and eating like 4, 5, 6 boiled eggs a day. Like it's too much, but that was that grandmother energy saying, okay, that girl is hungry and she likes boiled eggs. I'm just gonna boil some eggs and leave them on the stove, and when she's hungry, she already got something to eat. Like it's genius. But like the if you're in the mother energy, you're trying to make it be perfect. But the grandmother energy is like, no, that baby is hungry. Like let's feed that baby. And just like seeing how all of these energies play together, and how we are in the middle of it, and then jumping from role to role. It's this is the research that I'm getting into now. It's extremely fascinating, but it feels overwhelming and exhausting just to try to put words to it, because so many people have bad relationships with their grandparents or with their parents or with their kids, that they don't have like good experiences to pull from that. And so that makes
Mm.
it, the trauma that people have also makes it more difficult to discuss these topics, because people do have a lot of trauma, and I understand that myself. I don't have that trauma. I have the opposite of that. I have like nothing but like fantastic memories. And so my great grandmother, my grandmother, I have good memories of all of these individuals, but there's so many, again, all of these people doing magic, doing this, ceremonial magic, and they were doing it to their kids. They were doing it to their grandkids. They were controlled by people who were doing it to their kids and grandkids, and what they were doing in the churches and all this stuff. So I think that's probably like part of what I also like I just don't want people to go through this stuff. So I'm really, really focused and dedicated towards giving people information that's easy, like simple to understand, and that doesn't go into the realm of somewhere where you can actually hurt somebody. Like there's no need to do that. There's enough for everybody. The creator will provide more. If we need more gold, the creator will give us more gold. If we need more silver, the creator will give us more silver. Like this whole limited mindset that these ceremonial magicians have done has really, really, really put a strain on everybody on this planet.
Yeah, it's made people very stressed out, and when you're stressed out, it's not possible to honor the divinity,
No.
both within ourselves as well as outside of ourselves. But anything outside is really within, so
Yep.
it's the same. And it just reminded me in terms of like this is basically what I do when I invest in narratives is like it's like a baby.
Right.
It's like literally the birthing process. Like I'm
Yeah.
here, nobody gives a fuck about the baby, nobody
Right.
cares for the baby, so I'm picking it up, I'm nourishing it, I'm feeding it my energy, I'm investing in it, like I'm devoting myself to it. And what I remember with raw milk, and this was maybe 2 3 years ago, there was a significant turning point where raw milk started to become significantly popular, especially on Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
And then the system tried to do a campaign attacking it. There,
Yep.
there was literally, and I think this was during the Biden, like the first 2 years of the Biden
Yeah, I
administration.
remember.
If it was a very coordinated move to try to basically like cut the kneecaps of a very rapidly moving narrative. When if you are the mother of the child, your intuition of what's happening to your child is extremely heightened,
Right.
especially when it's a baby, especially when it's a precious being that still is basically completely beholden to you. And so because I had been in many ways the mother of raw milk, I sensed the attack before it even happened. I sensed it, so I started to prepare myself for it. And
Right.
when the attack was like officially announced, it was like all hands on deck energy. Like we're pushing back against this. Like this is
Right.
not. We're not. One is awareness. We have to be aware because when you're aware, that's where your energy is able to go and
Right.
play, to go and circulate, to go and do what needs to be done. What ended up happening after that attack is it completely backfired because the whole milk lobby, all these raw milk aficionados, that was the first time where they all banded together and said "fuck you" to the
Right.
system. They
Right.
said "fuck the system," and literally 6 months following that significant attack, there was probably 3 or 4 states in the United States that legalized raw milk.
Right. It
So
backfired.
so yeah,
Totally
it
backfired.
completely backfired. And that's the beautiful thing about what we're doing, especially the fact that we are aligned, is that one, they can't make a move at us directly because it gives us legitimacy.
Right.
And when we have legitimacy, it's game over, even though we
Right.
already have it. But it's like they're able to mask us.
Right.
The second is from these types of attacks, they realize that they literally can't go head on with us. They can't, they have to they have to do these very devious moves because anytime they go directly at us, we just alchemize it. We
Right.
just absorb their attack, say, hey, thank you, alchemize the energy, and then boom, feed it back into whatever it is that they were supposed to attack. Um, so it's gonna be, yeah, I'm interested to see kind of what this birthing process is, because if we understand, like if we are able to discuss and lay out this birthing process, then we can start to lay out the death process. And then once we lay
Right.
out both, we
Oh,
can lay out the death and the rebirth. Because people
oh
don't know
my
how to
goodness.
birth, people don't know how to die. That's a big thing that I've been getting the last week. People don't want to die. And it's not about your physical body dying. It's they don't want to die of their mental system, their emotional system, their spiritual system, their energetic system. But if you
Right.
notice, like, for you to be as powerful as you have become, you've had to die literally all the time, sometimes every single day.
Yeah.
And many
Yeah.
people actually say that when we go to sleep, we die. It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like that death and the rebirth. So imagine just how crucial it is to die and to be reborn and to live in a reality, in a system that has basically conditioned us to do everything in our power to not die.
Right. Right. When really it's a anyway, that's a whole nother thing. The mummial magic and preserving yourself and all of that. Like that's you can do that, but you have to learn you're preserving an old version of yourself to come back to and pick up and and do something with at a later date and time. But anyway, that's a whole nother Lord. Yes, the death and the rebirth. I'm not gonna say I'm overwhelmed. I am shocked at the amount of information that comes out of my mouth that is just like stuff that I've been thinking about, but like really does need more investigation. So yeah, the death and the birth process, and then the death process, and then the rebirth process. Yeah, I'm gonna go into that next time.
Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
once we have that laid out, very similar like the calendar, then we know the process. Because like I've been doing the birth, the death, and the we all have. We all have been
Right,
doing the death and the rebirth, and especially with these narratives that I've invested in, like I am very, very closely aware of the birthing process. But it's not like a conscious awareness. It's just what I've had to learn from making sure that these narratives become successful.
right,
When it becomes conscious, in terms of when we have an understanding of what is this birthing process look like, we can apply that to narratives, we can apply that to business, we can apply that to relationships, connections, we can apply that to our own spiritual empowerment, growth, whatever it might be. Because as we're building this empire, uh, and just using these narratives as an example, is, let's say, with the Olympians, we're very interested in popularizing the Olympians and having, I mean, that's basically the oath that I made. The oath that I made is,
right,
in order to receive the support and the loyalty of the Olympians, I I pledged to them, I formed an oath that I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that they are honored, that they are known, and that they are shown, devotion, respect, like that they are honored for what they are and what they represent.
right,
So with the narrative, like, in understanding the birthing process, we can literally create the system, the infrastructure to make the Olympians just come from, basically, in many ways, irrelevancy, at least in the cultural sense, to take over in a matter of just a few years, 1 to 3 years, I would say, max. And we can, like, lay out the birthing process in terms of, like, what that's going to look like. It's not about, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, because it's not. It's the energy. It's the energy that we're
right.
birthing. And so if we understand, whether we select Olympians, whatever it is, whatever